Hey, I'm finally back after a bit of a break, and this video is a direct response to all of the questions that I've gotten since releasing a video about the Ortlieb Atrack 45-liter backpack that I did a while back. I've actually shied away from doing many gear-related videos on this channel. I like to generally keep it focused on photography, but since you guys asked so nicely, I can't say no. In case you missed it, I'll link to the original video here in the corner somewhere, but the short story is that a couple years ago, I was on the hunt for a replacement to my Fstop camera backpack, which had worn out. And at the time, I felt like trying some kind of alternative to these expensive and actually not so versatile camera backpacks that are out there on the market. And anyway, the Atrack came across my radar one day and I thought, what the hell, let's try it out. So after using and abusing the Atrack for roughly 2 years, I feel confident that I can give you a verdict on whether I'd buy it again. And the short story is yes, I would buy it again. But the more relevant question is whether I would recommend it to you. And that's a little bit harder to answer, but let me give it a shot. So the Atrack is a very versatile outdoors-oriented backpack. But the concept of carrying camera gear and accessories around with you while hiking or traveling is actually a very specific use case, and that's where the problems lie. I was actually able to make this backpack work for me as a camera bag in a number of cases, but I did notice that the pack's shoulder straps and hip belt didn't really do the trick when I had it loaded up with a lot of gear. I've also flown with this backpack internationally a few times, using the Atrack as a carry-on, with my computer and my camera gear inside, and I can tell you that with more than about 8 or 9 kilos of gear in there, it's just not a very comfortable situation. Now that might sound like a lot of weight, but realistically, if you're carrying around a 15-inch laptop and a charging block, plus a telephoto lens, your camera, maybe a few extra batteries, you might even have a pair of binoculars with you, you're gonna run up against that 8 or 9 kilogram, 20-pound threshold pretty quickly. Or maybe you're not lugging around the laptop because you're out on a hike or something, in which case you're probably replacing that weight with, a liter of water, probably something like a sandwich, perhaps an apple, some lightweight rain layers, a hat and gloves. You get the picture. Tripods are also heavy, so factor that in if you're planning to carry around one of these. You get the point. 8 or 9 kilograms, 20 pounds is not an unrealistic weight if you like to hike your camera gear out into the hills to shoot wildlife or landscapes, or you're doing photography-focused travel somewhere in the world where it involves carrying more than just, one camera and lens with you. This backpack is not really designed with that experience in mind. Then there's the airport, and we all know what a headache it is to go through security with all of your camera gear. I always find it a bit nerve-wracking placing all of my precious kit in those, plastic tubs so that they can be run through the X-ray machines or whatever. And I always feel like there's a lot of eyes beaming down on me and my gear in those situations, and all I want to do is get it back into my backpack as quickly as possible after it's been scanned. And this bag was not really designed with that kind of thing in mind, unfortunately. Now, I certainly don't think that Ortlieb is at fault for that, because this kind of use case, photographers at the airport, is really not what Ortlieb had in mind. But if you're a photographer, you're gonna bump into these kinds of issues, so I'm just putting it out there for you. Be prepared for a slower unpacking and repacking process when you're going through airport security. Speaking of, let's talk about this back panel access. Yes, it has back panel access, which I do find great because it keeps this part of the backpack, which is in contact with your body, clean and dry, which is terrific. And if you're wondering about the zipper's integrity here, I have not had any issues at all. It's totally waterproof and it's never failed for any reason. Okay, now the issue that you'll definitely face as a photographer is that you will have to use one of these padded cases to provide some kind of protection and keep your lenses from knocking into each other inside the pack. And none of these cases is really going to line up perfectly with this middle zipper on the back of the Atrack, and that is a bit of a pain in the butt. Now, I was just thinking originally that I would probably leave this flap open inside the backpack when I had my gear in there, and that would allow me to kind of quickly unzip the main backpack zipper and get inside, grab a lens, take it out or whatever. But the problem is that because the shape of this does not perfectly match the shape of the backpack itself, what happens is the internal case here just kind of gets deformed by whatever happens to be floating around inside your backpack with it. You know, heavy items like a water bottle will just kind of press in and kind of, yeah, create this situation where your lenses could come sliding right out to the side, and now they're knocking around in your camera bag with your water bottle, and that's just not ideal. So the concept of leaving that padded case open and having quick access to my camera gear inside that main Ortlieb zipper just didn't really work out the way I had hoped. Now, what I really do appreciate about the Atrack still is that it is 100% waterproof, and I have been using this pack whenever I'm in my canoe, which is exactly where it excels and where all of my other non-waterproof backpacks just do not cut it. And actually, last summer, I took the Atrack along with me on a 3-week wilderness canoe trip in Canada's Yukon Territory, and it was the perfect day pack to have with me. I kept a number of really important items with me that I wanted to have quick access to during the day so that I didn't have to worry about getting into our larger dry bags to fish out, you know, my first aid kit or my stove or my binoculars or my fishing gear or my solar panels or whatever, all these little things that I wanted to have quick access to. And there's even a couple of really well done zippered compartments that are inside the Atrack when you open it up. You've got 4 of them there, and those were a perfect place to stash smaller items, you know, like a pair of fishing pliers or, you know, just small things that you didn't want to lose track of, and that keeps them from really disappearing into the abyss of the backpack itself. And I find those pockets really handy. So anyway, if you're looking for a budget camera backpack, then I'd suggest that you keep on searching. Incidentally, Fstop has come out with some backpacks recently that are still expensive, but perhaps not so eye-wateringly expensive as those ones were that were released back when I first did the initial video. And that said though, if you're in the market for a waterproof backpack to carry around, you know, general outdoor gear or lighter weight camera loads, then by all means, the Atrack should be on your list. It's a great backpack. I'm keeping mine, and I definitely plan to use it, for example, in Sweden this summer when my wife and I go up there to do some canoeing and fishing, and I'm sure it's going to work great for that. So thanks very much for your patience on this follow-up video. I really do appreciate, by the way, all of the great comments and questions that you left for me on the first video. So if there's something else that you would like to hear about, maybe it's photography or gear related, please just leave me a comment down below. I read all of those comments, and I really do appreciate your feedback very much. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.